the dazed beef, homemade prime beef patty with grilled streaky bacon, tasty cheese, sautéed onions, and mushrooms, golden hash brown topped with a pesto hollandaise sauce.
Fuck!
Hey, welcome to episode 58 of Front Seat Gamer. I'm Nick. I'm here with Blake.
Hey.
And Severn.
Hey, Nick.
How's it going, guys?
Good.
Good. This week we've got a guest, Chris.
Hello.
Hi, Chris. How's it going?
It's good. It's good.
You've been here before,
Yes.
but I wasn't here. So, as far as I'm concerned, this is your first official episode. He is the sort of sole current programmer working on the Path of Exile Xbox port currently, I think, right? You're the only person... You've been full-time on that for a while, and you had other people sort of come in and out to help you.
Yeah,
especially
yeah.
with, like...
I mean, I was before the sole gameplay and UI programmer.
Yeah.
For most of the first part of the development. And now we've got Harry and Jake on board as well with doing
nice.
a lot of other UI stuff, so that's good.
Cool. Okay.
So I used to be, yeah.
Yeah.
And then there's the port guys as well that do all the engine porting and optimizations and stuff.
Yeah, they helped to get the tech ready. They did the DirectX stuff, right?
Yeah.
So we'll talk about console stuff quite a lot in a little bit. But first, we usually talk about what we've been playing.
Cool.
I've been playing a game called Card Thief, which is a free mobile game. It's actually really good.
It sounds like Go Fish.
It's not at all like Goldfish. No, it's based. Okay, so you might remember I talked about a game called Solitarica a while ago, and I really liked it.
Yeah, I remember that. I installed it.
Yeah, did you ever play it?
Nope.
Cool. Good.
I think I recently uninstalled it as well.
You're the worst.
I needed to make room for my Spotify music.
Right. That's why. Okay, sure, that makes sense.
Yeah, all this bandwidth just burning a hole in your fucking...
Yeah, I could do something with it.
So, Card Thief is, I would say, a similar quality in terms of, like, it's just a really solid mobile game, really well designed. And it is a game in which you simulate a heist of a castle. And you have a little character on a sort of 3x3 grid of cards. And the card facing and what cards are, which cards they're adjacent to, and all this other stuff. It's really important. And it's actually really enjoyable. So if you are looking for a new mobile game to try out, I suggest you check out Card Thief because it's really fun.
Cool. I'll install it.
Cool. And then you'll uninstall it in like a month or two?
We'll see.
Yeah. Good. Anybody else been playing anything good?
I went back to Horizon.
Oh, cool.
I really don't have more to say about it. We've talked about it ad nauseum.
It was pretty funny last night. You messaged me about the ArtStation
Oh,
trending, and there's just seemed like hundreds of Horizon posts on there now.
Yep, so we've talked about ArtStation before and Horizon, but if you go up there right now, as of our recording date, they've taken over ArtStation.
Yeah, it's
every
crazy.
thumbnail is art
Wow.
from Horizon, and it's fantastic. High quality shit. Just really, really awesome stuff.
Is it actually the official art or like...
Yeah, a lot of the people, like the actual artists that worked on Horizon, put up stuff. And it's really interesting because they all actually go out, just dissecting some of their high poly, just their screenshots.
Yeah.
They will completely build like a house or a hut, high poly version,
Wow.
which is, it's kind of crazy to me because I wouldn't do that. I would prepare a lot of tileable textures and things like that.
Yeah,
and then build it up from that.
You'd make a couple of logs.
Yep.
And then put them together in low poly.
Yep.
You're not like high poly all these logs.
Yep. It's basically like, I'm going to build a fort, and then
Yeah.
they just open up ZBrush and build every freaking log
Yeah.
in ZBrush.
Wow.
Yeah.
Like sculpted, a photoreal.
Yeah.
It's incredible. And so to do it at that level, it's
Yeah,
kinda
that's
nuts. And I saw like
pretty great.
an entire fortress built in ZBrush too. It's so like, check it out. It's kind of incredible.
Do you want to put a link to that on our Facebook page?
We
to ArtStation, sure.
yeah,
Well,
I guess we
specifically
could.
to like the hut you're describing.
Oh yeah, yeah,
That would be interesting to
for
me.
sure. I'll do that.
Cool. Good stuff. Chris, have you been playing anything?
I started playing The Witcher again.
Okay.
I finally got it to run on my PC properly because
Nice.
it was crashing my graphics card before, I think. And now
great.
it's good. Yeah.
Dude, that's what was happening with my graphics card. Like early on, it was just like crashing. The game is too good. That's
Is
the problem.
that really
That's what it is?
That's the sign of a good game?
Too good for the graphics card.
When it breaks your graphics card, you're like, yeah, this is a good game. This is quality craftsmanship here.
I can only play it for 20 minutes at a time.
Yeah.
Wow. Does it just get too hot and then shut down or something?
Yeah, I think
Wow.
so, yeah.
It's,
Man, that game doesn't even...
I feel like as someone who really enjoys art, you should like The Witcher a little more because that game is really good.
It's got bad art, though.
Does it though?
They don't have fully ZBrushed forts.
Yeah.
They
Exactly.
just ZBrushed
right.
a few textures and then use that to build a whole fort.
I went away last weekend, and a mate of mine always tries to show me Witcher 3 on his machine.
Yeah. Was it?
It's garbage, man. He had to break into like a horse barn or something.
Yeah, I remember that.
Okay, with
yeah.
Seri or
Yeah,
whatever.
I remember that. Yeah.
All right, so what he did is they're all neighing on the inside of it, and
The
he had
horses.
to calm them down. Yeah.
Oh right. Yeah.
So he calmed them down with magic.
Yeah. That's what you do.
Tame horse.
Yeah, and then
magic.
and then Siri comes in the door, and she's like, "Hey, you should calm down these horses. They're already calm." So he had to repeat that.
Oh right.
It
yeah.
didn't remember anything. I
Yeah.
was like, "This is and it looked like complete shit."
That taming thing is pretty cool. Like
the magic.
yeah, the magic, because you can do it like to just kind of anything in the environment. Like it's supposed to sort of like you use it in combat, and it sort of stuns a person for a while, and they're like that, and they're like standing there, and then you can hit them.
Okay.
But it's really cool. Like you can just like I had this one mission where I had to catch a horse, and I could just like I don't know run up to it and try to hit it or something. But then I was like, nah, I'm not doing that. I'm just going to use my thing and catch it, and it totally works.
Wait, you're telling me you could tame a horse by hitting it?
Well, I don't know. Yeah,
You hit it hard enough, it
Probably.
stops moving.
Oh,
if
right,
I can
yeah.
catch
If you
it.
knock it unconscious.
There was also another one where I had to round up some pigs, and when you walk close to a pig, it moves away, and you're supposed to like herd them into an area. And I was like, I'm not doing this like a sucker without magic. So I tamed every single pig, and they all like in single file walked into this one place, and then the people spectating it were like, "Oh, you used some sort of devilry there." And she's like, "We're not giving you the price for that."
Sorry, did I just get all your pigs for you for
Yeah,
free?
yeah.
What?
That's a great game.
Not
It's such a good game.
yeah, we kind of just like
So, what do you think of Witcher 3?
we sandbagged the topic.
Pretty good?
It's a great game.
great, yeah.
Now that it's running,
Yeah. I can play for longer than 20 minutes. Yeah, I'm looking forward to this thing that you were going to do where it's Saverne plays games he doesn't like.
Oh, yes.
Ah, yes.
That was
yeah.
going to happen at
Yeah.
some point, I
Let's
think.
do that.
we've
See-
got to get hardware for that.
Yeah.
And-
It's called a PC, and that's all you need.
Oh yeah.
Because you don't like any PC games.
Oh no, I mean cameras, but yeah, okay. Fine.
Oh,
Well,
right.
we don't need cameras.
We could do it at work, because Bex has said that she's willing to help us out with that. But it's also just like this year is already going so fast. Like we were just saying, it's almost halfway through the year, and I
Yep.
feel like it was just February, like yesterday.
Yeah.
So we should probably get onto it.
Yeah.
So let's start talking about console stuff.
Well, can I talk
Yeah.
about what I've been playing?
I thought you said you hadn't been playing much.
Well, I've been playing one thing I can sort of talk
Okay,
about.
let's talk about it.
Last week on Friday after work, we played a multiplayer Stellaris,
Ooh.
and it was me and
for people who are unfamiliar with Stellaris, it's a 4X game, sort of like Civ, except in space.
yeah, it's Space Civ.
Yeah.
It's Space Civ. You're colonizing planets. You're dealing with diplomacy. You're fighting wars. You're building battle fleets and things like that. And I think I can't remember how many of us were there. Maybe 6 of us. Yeah, we were playing that, and me and Carl started off next to each other, and we were sort of like fighting over planets for a while, and then we created a federation, and we were slowly growing, and things were going well. But Mike Woods, our office manager, for the 2 weeks leading up to this, was shit talking about how he's gonna just destroy everyone and take over everything. So we went into this game being like, no one's gonna trust Mike at all because he said he's gonna kill us and everything. And
he's also been kind of vocal about his strategy, right?
oh yeah, he's been telling everyone exactly how he's gonna do it.
Yeah, he's very war driven.
Yeah. He always plays as like a race that just comes in and wipes you out and takes over your planets and doesn't assimilate any other races. He's basically like the Daleks. Just comes in and wipes out everything. I end up. I'll breeze through this as fast as possible because it might not be that interesting for some. But he started quite far away from me, so I wasn't worried about war with him. But then him and another guy joined forces to fight an AI that was between them because they had nowhere else to to expand into. And I saw this happening, and I thought, I can't be having any of this. Like, I don't want Mike getting any stronger. So I started sending money to the AI, and kind of like a proxy war kind of situation. And that AI totally like not only defended against both of them, but then started attacking both of them.
Awesome.
Yeah, and it pretty much crippled Mike. And then not long after, Carl, who's been on the podcast before, I think everyone knows Carl, came over to me and he's like, "Hey, I think we should attack Mike now." And so we just attacked Mike, and then we decimated him, and it was a good time.
Fun was had by all.
Yeah, fun was had by all. And then afterwards, Mike is acting like he's the victim.
Classic Dalek.
I picked a war with everyone, and you beat me.
Yeah.
I don't like it.
But it was good, and I think we're going to play again next week, and I think I'm actually going to do a similar thing to what Mike was doing and play his sort of war-like race and just go out and destroy everything.
Are you going to brag about that strategy?
No, I'm not. I'm not telling anyone except for
This podcast.
It's just everyone who listens to the podcast.
everyone that listens to the
Nailed it.
podcast.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so I want to hear about what happens with that. But let's talk about console now. So you've been working on it. When did you start working on the console version?
It
was a while ago.
Not sure. Yeah,
Yeah.
probably
At least a
year ago.
Yeah. So we asked a bunch of people on Reddit for their questions about what you've been working on. Before we get to that, let's talk a little bit about when we first announced it. The response was, let's say, negative. Yeah. It was
not too thrilled.
No. Yeah. It was at that point we hadn't really shown off anything that were also working on, which was like 6 acts. And so people were getting only like a small sliver of the total Grinding Gears picture and assuming that the Xbox port was all that we had in mind right at that point in time.
Yeah.
I think also we were showing it, the people who were vocal about it, and we've got a question about this, I think, somewhere here. But basically, we showed it off, and the people who cared about it at that point in time were already existing players, and so for them it was nothing for them to look forward to. They already played Path of Exile. They already had it on PC. Why would we care about an Xbox version, et cetera, et cetera? If you went out of your way to find feedback about the Xbox trailer on sites like YouTube that weren't specifically our YouTube, like if it wasn't our channel, it was like the GameSpot channel or whatever.
Yeah.
The comments seemed to be a lot more positive.
Yeah, so I went to because a lot of the negative stuff was in the Reddit.
Yes.
Now I went to the Xbox Reddit because there was also a thing about it in there.
Right.
And the comments over there were like 90% positive because they were stoked to be getting a game on the platform that they play.
And on top of that, a lot of the people would say, like we'd had existing players who would comment on some of these things outside of our community, so like on the Xbox Reddit or on YouTube or on some like PC Gamer article or whatever, and they would be like, "This is my favorite game. I've been playing for years. I'm so excited that it's coming to Xbox, so like my friends can play it or whatever." It seems like a lot of the fear was that the existing community would get forgotten. Obviously, that's not the case.
Yeah.
But it seemed to be like the response was out of fear that the game they really loved was gonna be hurt by the existence of the Xbox port,
and that we were going to design around the Xbox,
right,
rather than doing what we do now.
Exactly.
I can't even remember, but was there a similar feeling for when Diablo announced for Xbox?
I don't recall. I mean, I think they announced that very early on. I think they had even possibly announced it prior to their PC.
Yeah, I can't
release.
remember.
I don't really remember. It was a while ago. However, I do know that another action RPG has announced their console version and has in fact launched on console.
Really?
And yes, a Marvel themed one.
Oh right, yeah.
And they had a very similar initial response. Like their community hated that they were going to console.
Oh right.
But again, it's the people who are passionate about the game commenting and worrying about the change that announcement might bring.
And it's also like you said, everyone imagined that about half the company was working on it, and then
right.
I think Chris said in a post that there's only an average of about 3 of us working it and throughout the whole period.
It was something. It was only like a very small sliver of the overall team.
Actually, and that's actually true because I have a friend who was asking me like after the Xbox thing came out, and he's like, "Oh, so you like because I've been like working late and stuff." And he's like, "Oh, is it because of the Xbox thing?" And I was like, "No, I'm not working on that at all." Like,
but you are, Blake. We're like
well,
artists.
Technically, I am.
Yeah, artists didn't get divided. It's not a thing of like there are Xbox art. And,
Yeah.
You know that
Right.
doesn't get divided. The same game is.
Yeah, it's the same. It's the same game. I mean,
Yeah.
technically, it's all going to be on both anyway. So
Right. I mean, part of why ports are worthwhile for most studios is because you get to reach 2 or 3 times the normal size of the audience for only a slight amount more work. But I think in our game's case, it's interesting because so many people. We only had a few people working on the Xbox version, and it was over quite a long period of time. And we did have a game designer working on it initially, at least, and I think occasionally throughout. But most of the work was being done by people just getting the tech ready for it, so the DirectX 11 stuff, and then some graphic design stuff by Ash, which is our he was sort of hired to help with the Xbox user interface.
Right.
And then you were just sort of assembling and making it basically playable, right? And that obviously takes a ton of work because there are lots of little interesting things that you have to work on that most people probably don't even consider.
Yeah.
So we'll get to some of those in a minute, but let's ask one of these questions that we got from Reddit.
Okay.
This is from. Do we read out names? I think we're
fine.
reading out the names.
Yep.
Cool. If you wanted to be anonymous, you should have said so. This is from Bradley. What thoughts went into the decision to not go with the traditional health and monoglobe style and location? He feels this would still be just as good and a bit more visually appealing. So why did the user interface change?
So, I mean, I didn't make the art or the concept art for it, but I think one of the reasons is we need I guess for different TV aspect ratios, we need to have, I think, a 5% border around the user interface.
Yeah.
And adding that border to the current design just made it look weird. So we went for more of the floating UI approach.
Yeah.
And I think the floating UI we just thought it looked better with the orb at the top left rather than...
Right.
Yeah.
It's true. I mean, a lot of TVs have an exclusion zone, basically, where there is an image being sent there through the TV and the TV is not displaying it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
And having our user interface is very much bound to the edge of the screen. And it uses up the least amount of space possible by doing that, right? But for us to have used that same user interface on Xbox, you would have either had a big black border, which wouldn't be great,
no,
or you'd have the globe still floating in the midair, sort of to some degree, except it's still bound to a frame.
Yeah,
and around that frame is the game world, or you have like a big golden or whatever the color of the user interface is border that just further connects into that user base, right? But
Yeah,
either way,
yeah.
there would be some weirdness going on where
Yeah.
the game world wasn't as clear. The user base takes up more space, relatively speaking. So it wouldn't have been. We couldn't do a 1-to-1, right? We just could. It was impossible to transfer our user base across.
Yeah. And I think we were planning on almost completely redesigning the interface for console anyway, just
Yeah.
because we need all the little control prompts of what does what and all that sort of
Right.
thing. So
Yeah,
it wouldn't have
skill
been
bar.
easy to add that into the current
Yeah.
system. Yeah.
Similarly, the PC user interface works for PC because it sort of mimics a keyboard to some extent.
Yeah.
The flasks are bound to 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and are right next to each other. So that's and the skill bar has a similar setup where it's like QWERTY, right?
Yeah.
And to move that across, try and use that visual for a controller whose buttons are laid out entirely differently. Would have been, I think there would have been sort of a cognitive disconnect there. You would look at that user interface and not know what is assigned to what.
Yeah.
I read recently a Wikipedia article about, I forget the term, but it's laying things out as naturally as possible. So the example they used is a stove. You've got your 4 stove burners, right?
Okay, yeah.
And you've got, you can put 4 knobs at the base of the stove in a line,
Oh, yeah.
and you won't know what those knobs connect to on the
Right, yeah,
stove.
yeah.
However, if you've got the 4 stove burners and to the, say, left or right of the stove, you've got 4 smaller dials
Yep.
in the same arrangement, it's very easy to know which dial is for which burner. So I think there's a similar phenomenon at work here.
Yeah. We did want to do a similar sort of thing where on the bottom left there's the flasks and use them with the D-pad and the shoulder buttons, and that's sort of all on the left of the controller as well.
Right.
And on the right you've got the skills, which are A, B, X, and Y, and that's on the right of the controller. So it's trying to keep that
Right, yeah.
quite natural to what you're holding in your hands.
And I think putting the life and mana globe in the top left, I mean, screen space is very valuable on our game because you can only fight monsters that are visible to you.
Yeah.
You can only fight them well, and you can't, as a result, then put too much UI in any single location. If there's a blind spot on the screen, it's bad, right?
Yeah.
So spreading it out and basically making it so that, sure, the monster might be covered up by a little bit of UI, but there's still some part of the monster visible.
Yeah,
is,
exactly.
is pretty important. This was another user who asked, are there any plans to make microtransactions available on the Xbox account from the PC account? So
Right.
if you've got MTX on your PC Path of Exile account, will those be available on Xbox?
No. I think Chris announced this in a Reddit
Yeah.
post a couple of times, and yeah, we're not going to do that. I'm not sure.
Yeah, I think. I mean,
there's-
I don't know fully for what the reasons are, but I mean, I know, for example, that I don't think Path of Exile. I think the game is hosted on. It's not on our usual servers. I don't know for sure.
I'm not sure of that
Yeah,
either. No,
I'm not
I think
sure.
there are probably some legal things there as well. Like I remember on one of the Xbox videos with Jonathan, you were saying there are some differences between what we can do with supportive acts on PC versus Xbox.
Right.
Like I think he said that physical goods, like we give away T-shirts and maps. I don't think we can do that on Xbox. So there's probably some.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. So there's probably some stuff around just selling things.
Yeah.
Yep. That sounds sensible.
But
Sounds
don't
possible.
take my word
Sounds
for it.
plausible.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We should come back to that. Put a pin in it. If we ever have Chris on.
Yeah.
Run that by him.
Sure. We have Chris on now, by the way.
Yeah.
Oh shit.
This is from Moasamin. How you handle the patching out any game-breaking bugs or exploits that surface soon / immediately after a patch? Okay, let me let me restart.
Take two.
Take two.
Don't worry, I'll edit that out.
I won't. Yep, it's gonna stay in. How will you handle patching out any game-breaking bugs or exploits that surface soon after or immediately after a patch? Since what from he understands is patches on consoles need to go through an extra process before they make it through to the actual user. I've heard something similar, but maybe you know more about this than I do.
So I wasn't really sure about this, but I asked other Chris about it.
Yep.
Big Chris, Boss Chris.
Yep.
And he was saying that the server-side stuff can be fixed instantly. We don't need any certification stuff for that. So server-only patches can go through straight away.
Right.
And it's client-side stuff that needs to be through the certification process to make sure it all still does what it needs to do.
Right.
So that could take a bit longer. But at the same time, that won't delay the PC patches because they still get released at the usual time. It's just,
I know that most developers or most console manufacturers, rather, Microsoft and Sony and whatever, they will have a process to basically ensure that any software that they're selling isn't faulty out of the door. Right?
Yeah.
They don't want things. They don't want to sell you a customer software that's gonna constantly crash on them, for example, because that doesn't help anybody. Right?
Yeah.
They then have a problem. The customer has a problem, and the game developer has a problem. It's all problematic. So they have these processes to make sure, for the most part, games are fully functional.
I mean, they don't have any early access stuff like Steam early access. They don't have a Xbox equivalent of that.
Sure.
I don't know. I think they have betas for things.
Yeah, but that always seems like it's more of a game than early access.
Right.
You know?
I don't think that there is a Steam style early access. I haven't heard about anything like that.
I'm not sure either. No.
But I also suspect that I think even for the betas, it's probably done sort of knowing that what the player is playing is incomplete, and they probably haven't. They aren't buying a beta.
Yeah. That's
so
true.
it's not. If there's instability, that's why there's a beta. And they're not losing money necessarily. Of course, sometimes a beta is so rough that players assume that the live version is going to be like that, and it actually does hurt them. Yep. Didn't that happen with like the Star Wars Battlefield?
I thought that was good though. You played that beta, didn't you, Savant?
You talking about Battlefront?
Yeah.
I didn't play that. I played Battlefield.
Right. Did you play the beta for Battlefield?
I think so. Yeah, I played like one session of it. It was good.
Was it stable?
Yeah, it's really good.
Good. And you didn't buy the game after that?
No, I did buy the game.
Oh.
It was that good.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I'm pretty sure we talked about it on the podcast a while back, didn't we?
Maybe that episode you went on.
Yeah,
yeah, definitely.
Was it the other Chris episode? No.
Actually, it might have been. Yeah, I think we did talk about it on that one.
Man,
or the rocks.
You guys have a whole thing that I don't even know about.
Great.
You should listen to the podcast.
Yeah. I don't do that. I don't. Cut that out. No. Okay, this is from Rowan Blade X. What were some of the most challenging things to port to Xbox?
It's a good question. Yeah, I mean, everything's been quite challenging. Things like targeting monsters and that sort of thing has been something I've been working on for quite a while.
Right.
Getting the targeting to feel nice because you've only, you don't have the accuracy of a mouse. You've just got the directional stick and just, so and that can be quite tricky.
Let's say like you've got your totems, your spell totem support gem, and you've got a fireball linked to it or whatever. Normally, a player on PC clicks where that goes, and the totem pops up, and then the totem does its thing. On Xbox, you sort of indicate the direction that you want it to appear when you use the skill, and if there's an enemy there, I think it pops up next to the enemy, right?
Yeah. We played around with a few different ideas with this, and we've got another targeting method at the moment where if you use attack in place and hold down the skill button, it pops up a little cursor on the ground, and you can move that around instead of your player.
Nice.
And it moves quite quickly, so it's quite accurate, but it's also it doesn't take it too much time to move it around, and then you can more accurately place totems in more strategic positions.
Right, like you could pop up behind you if you need it.
Yeah. Because there's other things like with movement skills, if you're trying to move over a ledge that you can't and you can only just make it. On PC, you can just click to where you want to go.
Right.
Whereas on console, you'd have to accurately pick the direction you want to move in with a movement skill.
You can leap slam a short distance on PC.
Yeah.
To leap slam a variable distance on Xbox, you'd have to be using stand in place.
Yeah. So
Right.
but that you can specifically pick where you want to leap to.
Yeah, that makes sense. I know that there are some skills, Stormcall, for example, which are particularly difficult to get working on console. Stormcall has like the pinpoint accuracy problem where you want to target exactly where it is, but then it's also got a delay before it goes off, and that delay can be variable. And so you can't just say, well, it's always going to be this distance in front of a monster, because the monster's move speed is also variable. So there's you can't necessarily reliably calculate a place for it to appear for it to properly hit those monsters. Just because there's too many variables, some in and out of the player's control. So I know that at least a long time ago we had talked about not supporting certain skills on console. I think Stormcall was probably the most problematic of them.
Yeah.
Is that still the case?
We've got a similar thing with Stormcall with the reticle that goes on the ground. And instead of just specifically targeting a location, you can move the reticle around and it will just keep casting Stormcall.
Oh.
So you can sort of, draw a line,
right,
Stormcall along that line.
That's really cool.
And so far, I think that's working out all right. Yeah.
That sounds like I've played with Stormcall a little bit, and it's a hard skill to use. But that, I think I can picture that being quite usable.
Yeah.
You then have to you lead your monster a little bit, which is what you have to do anyway. But you don't have to necessarily consider pressing the button at exactly the right time or whatever. That's very cool.
Yeah, and there is also the other mode where it just specifically targets monsters or a fixed distance ahead of you.
Is there a hybrid of the two?
How would that, Severn? How do you think that would play out?
You snap it to whatever monsters,
right?
And then you go between the two, and then you can pull off a reticle.
Oh, I see.
As in like it snaps to a starting position that is near a monster. Interesting.
I think it's been a while since I've worked on that, but I think that's what it does.
Oh, cool.
Like it starts at your current target location. I think.
Cool. All right. Hey, man, I'm just spitballing here.
Yeah.
Hey, what about
good suggestion?
What about Chris? You use the Microsoft Kinect, and you
you are the controller.
Yeah.
If you shout Stormcall, it uses a Stormcall.
Xbox Stormcall.
Yeah.
I remember early on you were working on how to navigate the passive tree. Now this is something I hadn't even really considered when I first learned that we were doing an Xbox version. But navigating the passive tree is very simple on PC, right? You can zoom in and out with the scroll wheel. You click on whatever you want to take. It's very simple. It's like navigating a website, basically. On Xbox, it poses a whole bunch of problems. Let's say you're using your control stick, and you want to take a specific node, and it's next to the node you're currently taking. It's not too hard. You sort of point in that direction, and it'll probably go to that node. But let's say you've got a kind of complex tree. You're at level 80 or whatever, and you've got your tree all over the place, and you want to add a node to one end of the tree, and you're at the other. Navigating from one end to the other is not as simple on PC as it is on PC. On PC, you just zoom out and you click whatever, right? Being able to pinpoint select which node you want when it's quite a long distance or whatever, you're going to have to hop and skip a little bit. But I also remember that there are points in the tree where you want to grab a notable on a cluster that's sort of separated to some degree from where you are right now. I remember you were sort of playing around with I'm kind of trying to describe this. It might be wrong. It was basically like a series of different cones of different widths and lengths. Yeah. And this was how you would sense what node the player was trying to get to, right? Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So you'd have like a very wide angle cone that is quite short, and so if a player sort of gestures sort of loosely at one direction, it'll probably hop to the closest node, right? But if there's like a notable that's quite far away, the player can sort of point at it quite precisely with the control stick, and it will try and sort of figure out the straight line distance to that node and hopefully hop there, right?
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, I'm doing a very bad job of describing it.
No, it's good. So at the moment, it's favoring it. The linked nodes take priority. So if you're in a big cluster,
Yeah.
it'll try and give priority to nodes in that cluster.
Mm-hmm.
So you can move along all the lines and the highways, I think we call it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if it doesn't find a node along those lines within a certain radius of, where you push the stick, then it'll fire a cone off in a different direction,
Right.
and look for the best node in that direction and pick that as well.
I should say we are meant to call those nodes skills. I've learned recently. We talk about them as nodes internally just because I don't really know why. That's just what we call them. But officially, they're called skills, passive skills.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Wait, can you not zoom in and out while using the skill tree on console?
Yep.
You can't.
Oh, you can.
Oh,
You
okay.
can.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Jeez.
And if you just hold in one direction, it'll just sort of move along in that direction. So
Right.
if you wanted to get from one side of the tree to the other,
Cool.
you can
Yeah.
just hold in a direction.
Sorry, I misunderstood that.
No, that's all right.
What's your zoom in and out buttons?
It's got the triggers, man.
Triggers?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Nice.
Yeah.
I was actually really surprised about how natural it felt to move around that tree. By the time I'd actually gotten around to using it.
Oh, good.
I mean, the first time I'd used it, I think, was while you had just sort of started working on it. I think it was quite early on.
Yeah.
And so there was a bit of jankiness, but then like the next time I used it, I was like, this is supernatural feeling.
Oh, good.
So
That's good to hear.
Chris has been doing
Supernatural feeling.
yes,
Whoa.
feels supernatural.
This is some
Holy-
telekinetic
I'm like-
kind of shit.
Damn.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I felt psychic. I felt like the Xbox was reading my mind.
Whoa.
So
It's the power of the connector.
yeah, Xbox. What am I thinking?
Yeah. I like hearing responses from people playing it for not the first time, but
Right.
Because I don't think we've actually had a player try it yet. It's mostly just been people at work and journalists and
Yes.
Did the journalists, do you know what their sort of reaction was? I mean, we read their articles and stuff, but what was their while they were playing? Did they
I'm not
say
sure.
much?
I wasn't in the kitchen at the time.
Oh, Nick, you would've
don't
heard
know.
it.
I was in the kitchen
Yeah,
at the
yeah.
time,
Oh, right.
and I also went on the press tour when we first showed it off.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So what was people's initial reaction to it then?
It was pretty much universally positive.
That's good.
It's no one was like, this is weird, I don't like it. It was all like, oh, this is, I mean, no, the most telling thing was there were very few people asking what to do
Okay.
or how to do something.
Mhm.
Did they just not want to look dumb though? Is that the thing? They just
Oh, yeah.
It is possible.
this is a hardcore
Like,
RPG. I better not say anything.
there was one journalist who kept asking what the romance options were.
What are the romance options?
So I thought that was interesting. But
Nessa, you go to Nessa.
you do a quest. You do
was
that
like-
medicine chest.
can you make the player characters get into relationships with each other? He asked me that, so I didn't know how to answer that one. I mean, I said no, but
That is
like, how do you-
that is interesting. Like that is that just like nowadays when somebody says, "Oh, I'm making an RPG," you're like that's just part of it now.
Yeah,
is it?
I think that might be what was going on. Was that this is someone who I think had the wrong expectations, or at least different expectations when he said RPG, or he probably didn't hear the action part.
Right. Yeah.
And when he's action RPG, that
There's
could be
action and
Zelda,
romance.
right?
What are you talking about?
Zelda's an action RPG, so there's Zelda, the action RPG genre is kind of broad, but the ARPG, quote unquote, Diablo style / Path of Exile / whatever.
Yeah.
It's it's got very specific connotations that I don't think
Yeah.
this guy was familiar with.
It's the top-down action RPG that's just like you're here to kill some monsters.
Yeah.
But also, we're keeping that in our back pocket for later.
Oh yeah.
We're saving those romance.
We want
Yeah.
that witch and duelist. Actually, the witch is,
I'm
witch
not
is
going
too
to say
young.
anything, man. It's
You've been working on something on the side.
Well, Piety has a bit of a thing for the duelist, I think.
That's
Yeah,
true.
One
Yes.
romance option. yeah.
Really? Where's
Ooh,
this?
yes.
Oh, she comments on his nice ass and that sort of thing. and-
Really?
Yeah.
Holy shit!
Yeah. You should
This game's great.
play the game sometime, Blake. You should play that game.
It's pretty
Man,
good, you
I've
know?
heard it's pretty good.
Yeah, I didn't know about that.
Yeah, play a duelist. Listen to Piety's dialogue. It's really funny.
But then I have to play.
She
then I have to
likes
play a
the
duelist.
duelists.
You know, I didn't even know we supported that kind of stuff.
No, neither.
That monsters like knew what class you were and
Yeah.
had dialogue
Yes.
specific to your
a
class.
lot of quite a few characters have specific class dialogue.
Dude,
Nessa does, I believe. Bestel does. I don't remember if Tarkley does.
Are you like me, Savern, and you just play like one class every time?
I'm only testing now. Like I haven't
Oh,
played the
man.
game in a little while.
So you just don't play
Like
with the sound or anything?
since open beta.
Oh shit! Jesus. Okay.
I know.
Well, I only ever play Ranger. I only ever play Ranger.
Mhm.
So I never see any difference. Yeah.
The Ranger's a very interesting character, though.
Ranger's cool.
The subtleties of that character and how it's told. Very interesting. For example,
Why do you play Ranger? Because I play Ranger. Like that was the class up.
Oh really?
Yeah. What's
Oh,
going on?
I just
here?
want to be like you.
it sounds like Severn was the first one to do it, so like you can't play it anymore.
Damn it.
Well, yeah, he wants to be like me, man.
Yeah. I want to be.
Yeah,
no, I
fair
want to be.
enough.
I want to be better. I want to be a better Ranger.
Oh,
Oh.
right.
Yeah.
All right.
It's gonna be hard. He's the perfect Ranger.
Yep.
Blake,
Yo.
do you remember anything? You've played the Ranger recently,
Yeah.
right? Do you remember anything about the Mervale caves?
Yeah. There's ghost ladies, isn't like that's yeah.
Do you? But have you played any other classes?
No.
Have you played the witch through that area?
No.
You'll note if you ever play a witch through that area,
Yeah.
ghost ladies don't appear.
Are they ghost men?
They're ghost men.
Yeah.
So
What's going on there?
it's interesting that Mervale can sense the desires of the player character. There you go, little factoid. You can put two and two together from that. So let's talk more about console stuff.
Okay.
So this is there have been some other action RPGs that have been ported to console, and they've had mods and exploits. This is a question from Alchemist87. He wants to know: will you guys prevent mods and exploits from appearing on the Xbox version? Will the save characters on the Xbox be local or based on the servers?
Right. So I also verified this one with Chris.
Yes.
Other Chris.
Yep.
Yeah. So he was saying that our game is going to run on the servers like it does on PC at the moment, so you can't cheat in the same way. We don't store the characters locally,
Right.
and so you don't. In fact, it's probably even more difficult because it's on a console, so it's a
Right.
completely separate system. Yeah.
Yeah.
And at the moment, our PC version is pretty solid. Yeah, there aren't really many.
It's very difficult, in fact, ideally impossible to exploit very much on Path of Exile.
yeah.
Because it's all so much stuff is just checked by various things. And,
Yeah.
and
Yeah,
I remember-
anytime I add a new packet to the game, I've always got to go through a long. In fact, usually I leave network packets to someone else because it's. I mean, and Jonathan is probably the best at that. He's very thorough with everything. And
Yes.
make sure nothing can ever be exploited. And yeah,
I remember, I think it was like a couple days after I moved to New Zealand, I went out. They used to do a new employee dinner.
yeah.
Oh yeah,
Chris,
I remember
Chris,
that.
Jonathan, and Eric.
Then we got
and-
too many employees for
Yeah.
them to handle.
Yeah. And I remember I went out for my new employee dinner. We went to Genghis Khan, a
Yep.
nice
I went
all
there.
you,
as well.
all you
yeah,
can
yeah.
eat Mongolian place. They
Fantastic.
took me to the quote unquote good one.
Oh, jeez.
Wait, what's that one?
Lucky.
I don't remember. I was
It's-
so new.
I think it's Green Lane. Or,
Yeah.
Is that the one?
The Epson
yeah.
one, yeah.
Yeah, Epson. Yeah.
That sounds vaguely familiar.
Yeah.
I had no idea what the geography of New Zealand was at that point. And to be fair, I still
It's not the New Lin one.
Yes.
Yeah,
I know that.
There was a closer one that was like 5 minutes away.
There's one in
It's still
Henderson now.
Is there?
Yeah, on Lincoln Road.
Yeah, we should go
Yeah.
right now.
All right, that's the end of the we're wrapping it up. Thank you for.
Oh no, we're taking
Email
this
us
podcast
at-
on the road. That's what it is.
I remember at that dinner they were talking about some of the security measures in place for Path of Exile, and like how and why, and it was kind of mind blowing. I had no idea the depths to which people had gone previously to cheat, and the measures taken to prevent that cheating. It was very, very impressive.
Yeah.
I remember a New Zealand GDC talk. Chris talked about exploits in other games. Yeah, Chris.
Yep.
Not me, Chris.
Big Dog Chris.
Big dog, Chris.
Chris W.
Big dog.
I mean, Chris is a. I'm sorry, Chris. These people are so rude.
But yeah, he was talking about the exploits, and he had an entire hour of just answering questions and talking about other game exploits.
Oh, wow.
And they've definitely learnt from other people's mistakes,
Yep.
which is to our benefit.
Yeah.
Well, I remember like Diablo 2, right? They had characters that were stored locally, and then you could do a option of closed battle. It was called closed battle net, where everything was on the server. But the open battle net, where your character was on locally, it was just a wild west of like everything's modded. There's like 1 million skeletons, like raised armies all over the place. Like it was a mess. You couldn't kill anyone. Everyone was invincible. Everyone had the best armor. It was just crazy.
Yeah.
Like it was actually unplayable.
After talking to some people at the office, it's like, server tells the client what's up. You never have it the other way around.
Yeah.
Right? It's just rule of thumb.
Yeah.
I always thought that'd be quite a cool game idea to have a really easily exploited game, because I think everyone feels a bit sort of special when they make a cheat or an exploit or break the game.
Idea.
But then you walk in there and you realize everyone else has had the same idea, and you're just like, this game's broken.
I wonder how you could make a game where the game mechanic was to cheat.
Well,
that would be very interesting.
Isn't there that game? There's some RPG, I can't even remember what it's called, but there is a game where you are sort of you can kind of hack the game in a way.
Watch Dogs?
No. It's man, I wish I could remember what it was called. And
Watch Dogs 2.
Yes. You press A and you hack stuff. No, it was like you could write a thing that's like.
I think I know what you're talking about. It was a Kickstarter game, and it was meant to teach you how to program.
Yes, that sounds like it might be it.
My buddy Anthony was a backer on that.
Right.
And I think the dude who had like made that Kickstarter and raised the funds and stuff just stopped working. Which is,
so
how Kickstarter works.
He life hacked everyone, it sounds like.
Yeah. In fact, if you ever want to look up a Kickstarter travesty, look up Project Phoenix.
Project Phoenix.
Project Phoenix is. They raised over $1 million. They had Nobuo Uematsu, which is the Final Fantasy VII or Final Fantasy soundtrack dude for like all of them up to like 10, I think.
Wow.
And then I think he started pulling back a bit. Had some other like good talent in there. I think they raised their money at the end of 2013 or the start of 2014, over $1 million. In 2016, they said we still haven't found a programmer.
Oh my god!
Okay.
Programmer we were waiting for decided to bail on us, so we're still working on it, guys. Don't worry.
How do you not find someone like Severn? We were talking about your game. You found like multiple programmers over.
Yeah,
well,
they must have been going for A-star programmers. There's hot demand programmers.
That was what they said. However, I mean, I've worked with this guy. I worked with the guy who runs the project. And the last project I worked with him on, he ran into the ground. And everything about this was showing the same telltale signs.
This guy sounds like a jerk.
Yeah. A jerk is a light way to describe him. He is not my favorite person in the world.
You want to name names?
Not going to name names, but I'm sure if you know the name of the project, Phoenix, then you'll be able to figure that out yourself.
Oh, man. I heard of a... this is not exactly game related, but I heard of a Kickstarter for cheap 3D printers. They were gonna be like $100 3D printers, or you just buy it, ready to go. It's gonna be great. And they raised, I don't know how much, like maybe over $1 million, like quite a lot. And it was these two guys, and this one guy, instead of setting up like a business account where all the Kickstarter money went into that like shared business account, it went into this one dude's personal account.
Oh wow!
And the other guy just trusted him to be like, "You're taking care of all the money, right?" And the other guy's like, "Yeah, cool." And he bought some land, built like this really expensive house, and then was like, "Oh, I've lost all the money." And it was a
moral of the story: don't trust people.
And it was a bummer too, because like the other guy was really into it and wanted to make this awesome business.
Yep.
But the other guy was into it to get a free house.
Wow.
What a piece of shit.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, we've talked about crowdfunding a few times on this podcast.
Yep. And not trusting people.
Yes, and it's also we need to keep in mind Path of Exile was initially crowdfunded. But I mean, in closed beta, it was crowdfunded. So, crowdfunding is something that can work. It just you need to be very sure about it. You need to know who the person is, what the project is. You need to be able to see and potentially even play the project before you.
Well, I think if you want to put some money in it, do some research on the guys.
Yeah, it's probably worthwhile.
Yeah, I hear about Kickstarters where it's just like some dude that's like, I've got an idea for a game. I need $1 million, and it's going to be like the World of Warcraft killer.
Yep. That ship has sailed, though.
Yeah, I think it has.
Well, it's often people who haven't worked in the game industry before.
Yeah.
There's an old investors adage that you should invest in the people, not the idea. And I think that is a very good way to approach it.
I also think World of Warcraft is misleading. Like when you look at that, you're like, dude, this looks like the game's like 20 years ago.
Yeah.
I could make this.
It was 10 years ago.
Yeah,
like,
more than 10.
Yeah.
Almost 15.
Some of it is over 10 years old.
But if I look at it, I'm like, man, this art. But like, it's not just art. It's shitload.
I mean,
of
it's
design
like,
yes.
I mean, it is become refined over its like its lifespan. Like the people that are still playing it, they're talking about this new expansion as like the best it's ever been.
I don't know. I every time they add new content, I like that game less because they always simplify a system.
Yeah, but that simplifying it
hurts.
means more people can understand it. Means more people come and stick with it.
Yes, but it also
that's the mindset that they've got.
It makes it approachable, but it also makes it shallow, and that is the problem. You need a system. If a system should be approachable, that is important. Someone should not be intimidated by a system. This is one of the obstacles.
You mean
like
our skill tree?
It's one of the obstacles we have with the skill tree. But our skill tree has a ton of depth. So players who don't get scared away love exploring it, love tinkering, love perfecting and optimizing in that. And there's a ton of depth there, and depth is ultimately what's going to keep a player playing. Every time World of Warcraft simplified its system, I played for less time.
Yeah, but I think they've just come out like, sure, they've got like less choice in what skills you take and all that sort of stuff. But I think they really doubled down on like their story and their like quest events and all this. Like they've got in-game cinematics like all over the place now. It's really
very cool.
Yeah, it is very cool.
It's very cool. I would play it for a week, and I'd be done with it. I would level to the level cap, and I would be like, "Yep, cool. I've seen all I need to see. Cancel my subscription again."
You don't want to get that fat loot though. Like you want to.
The loot's meaningless at this point because there's going to be another level cap raised, and they'll launch another expansion, and it'll be easy to advance. And there's no system there that's going to hold me.
I'm no expert on World of Warcraft now, but like they've got those like what are they, like artifact weapons or something that is like. You can customize it, like the weapon itself has a skill tree.
Yeah, that sounds familiar.
That's like a newer layer of like...
Yeah, the one... This is... Okay, here's something that really annoyed me about that system.
Oh, boy.
In vanilla World of Warcraft,
there
was an item called Ashbringer that was found on a GM character, like a game moderator character. And Ashbringer in the lore is like the one of the most powerful weapons, and it was like held by like Tyrion Fordring or and like these huge lore characters, and people were dying to get Ashbringer.
Yeah.
And at the end of Vanilla, they released Naxxramas, and Naxxramas had a fight called the Four Horsemen, and one of the horsemen, depending on how you did the fight, could drop the corrupted Ashbringer, and that was awesome. It was the corrupted version of this weapon that everybody had been looking for, and that people had assumed there would be a quest to purify it to get the actual Ashbringer, and it was going to be huge. They had these like legendary weapon quests that were huge and long and impressive and had all this cool stuff. People had just been waiting for the Ashbringer purification quest that never came. 4 or 5 expansions later, here is Ashbringer. It's yours. You can do whatever you want. Everyone gets one. Everyone gets one. Everyone gets to customize it.
Yep. Well, that's
completely destroy the identity.
I think it also. I think
have fun.
Again, I'm no expert, but I think that you customize it to look different.
You also customize the effect of it.
Yeah.
Yeah. It kills the identity of the weapon.
And there's along that same line of thought.
Yeah.
A mate of mine that's still playing it tells me every once in a while what's up, and in his storyline, it's become like you as the player are now in charge of armies and garrisons and all this.
Yeah.
Right. And
you've
like
advanced
you're the boss of your class.
Sure.
Right. So you're the master warlock or whatever.
Right.
But really, you're not, because everybody else that's playing is the master warlock of their class. Like,
yes, this is, in my opinion, World of Warcraft was best when you were a foot soldier,
right?
And it had this sense of you get 40 people together. Back when it was 40-man raids.
Oh man,
it took a ton of organization.
I remember that.
And it felt like a well-coordinated dance when you did a 40-man raid perfectly. Like beating Cthulhu in a 40-man raid was a huge achievement.
Did you ever do that?
Yeah.
Did you?
Yeah.
Man, I did a 40-man once of Molten Core, and it was a pickup
group
of 40 people, and it was the shittiest shit show I've ever seen.
Yeah,
90% of us died every single fight. It was a mess.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's why
it took 6 hours to do, and we didn't get anywhere near the boss.
They shrunk down the party size because less people means less problems, and then they gave all these different difficulties.
Part of the simplifying, and
yeah, this is again they simplified the raid system, and they added 1 million modes for it. Like you can do cross server raids, and it's super easy. You stand there and you press a button and you get your loot.
But I mean, maybe they're onto something, because they are like the most popular game in the world.
I wonder how much of that is just sunk cost, though. How much of that is I've been subscribing to this game for 13 years.
And this is just where I hang out with friends. Maybe I don't know.
It's a chat room with spells now.
It's you saying it's the new Second Life.
Well, I mean, functionally, yeah.
Oh man, Nick. Whoa.
Anyway, maybe I'm being too harsh.
I think you are. It's a good game.
It went in the wrong direction for me.
Right. You just crave more depth. That's fine.
Yeah, pretty much. The last time I had the most fun in World of Warcraft was when they introduced the pet battle system. Oh god. Because it was basically Pokemon.
That's a different game.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Okay.
All right. So talking about consoles.
All right.
Oh no, sorry.
No, it's good. It's good.
Have you played World of Warcraft, Chris?
By the way, you have a guest here, Chris. Still,
I've never reached endgame in World of Warcraft before. I've only ever gone through the leveling process.
Well, now you can pay to reach endgame.
Yeah. Well, I think last time I played, I got a free level 90 pass where you upgrade your character level 90. But I don't do that.
Right.
It just seems like
I was playing a few years back, and I did a 90 skip. And I kind of regretted it because there was the whole Panda expansion I ended up skipping through and going to the Warlords, and I was like, I wish I could have. Maybe I shouldn't have done that, because it's like a whole section I didn't experience.
Right. I played Mr. Pandaria was the last one I played.
Right.
It's pretty fun for a week or two. Really, that's really
man.
I don't know if I've ever really enjoyed World of Warcraft.
Oh, man.
But for some reason, I just keep coming back to it occasionally, I get 10 levels higher than I was before, but then I don't know if
Do you have an active subscription right now?
No.
Okay.
Yeah, I just don't think MMOs are a thing for me. But I guess World of Warcraft has a bit of a nostalgia thing to it.
Yes.
Going back to the old, go to see Thunder Bluff again.
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
There's a weird cry from WoW players that for like legacy servers.
Yeah.
And I really feel that they don't know what they want. Because, like, if you were to go back to vanilla WoW without all the, like, quality of life type stuff that's in now, I think you'd play for maybe a few hours and be like, yeah, I remember this, and it's not really that great.
Now, I've heard a similar argument from the World of Warcraft devs themselves.
Yeah.
And I think that they are missing some very important things. I believe that a little bit of friction in the gameplay is important. If something isn't... there needs to be a level of polish, right? Polish is important in a game. But that polish doesn't necessarily need to be in how your game systems interact. And by that, I mean, like, moving around the world doesn't need to be it needs to be polished to an extent, but it doesn't need to be that at level 20 you get your mount and it's really cheap, and at level 40 you get an even better mount and it's only a little bit more, and at level 60 you get your flying mount. It doesn't need to be, like, designed in such a way that the player always has the easiest time getting from A to B. Because a little bit of friction can create a memorable situation. And part of what made World of Warcraft interesting in the first place was it was this big world, and you start off in this little area, and slowly your knowledge of the world grows because you have to run around on foot first. And you see landmarks, and you see quest givers, and you see interesting events as you're doing that.
Yeah, I mean, I think if you're getting to the point that flying mounts were a mistake, I think Blizzard themselves have kind of said, yeah, flying mounts were a bit of a mistake.
Flying mounts, I think, can be a great feature. I think that in the Outlands expansion, Burning Crusade, it's when they introduced it, I think it was handled well because you got that as sort of your final step.
And there was an area I remember in Burning Crusade that you pretty much could only do with a flying mount because there's a whole bunch of floating islands.
There are a few areas like that, and that was a good way of handling it. But then when you bring those flying mounts back to the original world, it shrinks the size of the world for you. It's no longer this massive world. It's now like 2 minutes to get to the bottom of the continent or whatever it is, you know. So I think that they have taken polish to the wrong areas and to too high a degree to make it. If something, here's a phrase I like: if something's too polished, you can't grip it.
Yeah, good.
Right?
Whoa! Something's too polished, you can't grip it.
Yep. That's how I feel.
Holy shit! That's a hell of a.
Did you coin that?
Yeah.
Whoa! That's a Nick original.
Yeah, you heard it here.
That's some Nick wisdom.
Jesus, that's got to be on your tombstone. A very unpolished tombstone.
Really weird tombstone phrase.
It's made out of wood.
No one's going to...
Very grippable.
All right, Chris, more questions for you.
Okay.
These are from our users and our readers, listeners. What are the listeners? They don't... If you transcribe our podcast and you're a reader, email us at Front Seat Questions and let us know. All right. Is there anything in particular you wished you had more time to work on? This is from Noxterus.
Yeah, I think we've still got a bit of time to work on things as well before release. But I think.
Well, let me ask you this: what are you working on right now? What is your biggest priority right now?
I've been working on that little cursor thing I was talking about.
Oh yeah,
quite a bit. And that's feeling okay. I think mostly I just want to refine things a bit more and get values feeling the right way.
Yes,
you know. Yeah, just improve the feel of everything. I suppose. Yeah.
Making stuff feel as natural as possible.
Yeah. Like Nick was saying with the passive tree, where before it was a bit janky, I think you said, and now it's a lot nicer. Yeah.
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 It's interesting. So I've now played the console version at various stages. You've
right.
been playing it like almost. I mean, you've touched it at all points throughout its lifespan, and so you probably have a good idea of like what it originally felt like. But I suspect that the transition is being slow and gradual enough that you haven't noticed the leaps and bounds.
Yeah, yeah.
I've noticed leaps and bounds. Luckily, I've been in the position to like. I tried it very early on when you were just screwing around with stuff and getting things sort of set up in a way that like a controller works.
Yeah, yeah.
And stuff worked, and movement worked, and combat was a bit sloppy, and navigation was a bit sloppy.
Yeah.
And then I tried it again at the press tour, and it was feeling really, very solid. But we were still sort of working on like item management and flasks and some stuff that was like sort of tricky. On the trickier side of stuff, and then like I played it again at another press tour recently, when the press came to our office.
Oh yeah. You had to try that as well.
Yeah, just a little
cool.
bit. And it feels. I felt another improvement. So it's amazing. Even though you're just tinkering with values, tinkering with those values and getting those little bits and pieces better independently, as a broader picture is making it. Much more comfortable to use.
Awesome. That's good. Yeah, it has been difficult to remember what it felt like, and it's hard to make improvements when it's been a gradual progression. You don't sort of...
You don't have a benchmark.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's good to hear that it's feeling better, yeah.
Yes.
Tell me, with the cursor thing, I'm guessing you move it with the joystick.
Yes.
Can you change these values in the options menu?
At the moment, no.
Oh, like movement speed?
Yeah,
like how
because I'm thinking.
it is?
I always find that whenever I touch up sensitivity settings, that it really only applies to me.
Yeah.
I definitely think adding it into the options menu and giving people a chance to determine their own is cool.
Yeah.
Is that something that's going to happen?
We haven't really talked about it yet.
Okay.
But, and yeah, totally possible.
Because, first-person shooters.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think getting stuff up to as good a sort of default as possible, and then seeing what options you want to expose to the users, probably. Yeah. We can suggest ideas to Chris.
Actually,
another time.
Is the whole options menu like getting reworked? Button mapping and things like that.
I don't think we're doing any button mapping just because it's sort of specifically designed to work with the UI and fit in.
Okay.
I think most of the options are still there in the options menu, like all the sound sliders and that sort of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks different now than what it did before. And we tried to keep most things, but other things don't really make sense. So we've removed all the options that we don't need anymore.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
This is a question from the Amigo Boys with a Z. Are you going to rebalance some of the game around the fact that you can't use a logout macro? Stuff that happens almost instantly can be really hard to react to on a controller.
So I was talking to you about it before the podcast.
Yes,
but
we talked about this a little bit.
Yeah, we added a logout option to... there's already a logout option in the pause menu, but there's a shortcut where you can just press Y, and it will log you out from the pause menu.
Right. So
just pressing start and then Y will log you out.
You bring up the menu and immediately press Y, and you'll get logged out pretty quickly. Which is analogous to like hitting escape and rapidly pressing exit the character screen or whatever, right?
Yeah.
I personally felt that it was much easier to react to things on the console version because the movement and the skill use are two completely separate components. With the mouse is covering both movement and skill use.
I see.
So you're trying to do two things at once with the same control mechanism. Whereas being able to use the joystick and maneuver my character and then use the skills when and how I want with the other side of the controller was it meant that I felt very mobile in combat.
Oh, good.
Much more so than normal.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I've been so used to the controller now that feels natural to me.
Right.
And I went and played some Legacy League on PC, and had a hard time readjusting to the mouse and keyboard.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
And it is nice because you do get a lot more accuracy with the mouse and keyboard for sure. But yeah, I mean, both feel pretty natural.
So one of the hardest pieces of content that we have in the game is the laboratory. Not the laboratory. The labyrinth, rather.
Yeah.
We've got too many labs in our game. The labyrinth has all these traps, and the traps require quite dexterous movement. Like you need to be able to get through narrow gaps and get your timing right and all this other stuff.
Yeah.
And I think that's going to be a lot. Those traps and navigating the labyrinth is actually probably going to be a lot easier on console. I think people will be very surprised. That's going to be, to me, where the console will really shine. Players will get up to that and go, "Oh, I get it now. I get why the controller's good."
Yeah, that was one of the main concerns I think people had not the main ones, but one of the concerns people had when we first announced it was trying to navigate all the traps with the controller.
Right. I think they've forgotten what a controller feels like. Like it's just. I mean, if you've played Mario or whatever, it's super, like, movement is what controllers do really well. So,
yeah.
This is from Natural Aegis. Aegis? I've never known how to pronounce that word. Anyway, I just stared at Severn. He's just like, I'm not going to help.
Yeah, I'm not even looking
Yeah,
at the screen, man.
Severn can't even see the thing.
Yeah.
Aegis. It's the shield word.
I think Aegis.
Yeah,
Aegis?
I'd go Aegis.
Okay.
Yeah.
Good. We're all in agreement.
Aegis.
Aegis.
Yeah.
Blake's wrong. Okay.
Aegis.
Can we use more than 4 skills, or is weapon switching a thing?
Weapon switching isn't a thing. You
Yes.
can't swap weapons, but you do have 8 skills you can use on console.
Yeah.
So you got the 4 that you see in the UI, and then if you press the right trigger, you get the second skill set.
Right.
So you do have the same amount of skills.
So you have 2 groups of 4, like skill binds, basically.
Yeah.
But you just mentioned that you can't swap weapons, which is, I think, one of the most distinct feature changes between PC and console. Is your second weapon set is straight up gone.
Yep. Yeah.
Most people, I think, use their second weapon set specifically just to level gems.
Yeah.
Like it's just an extra spot to hold 2 items and some gems. So from like a purely gameplay and mechanical perspective, I don't think that's going to be a huge loss. I think that console people who find out that the PC version has those extra weapon slots will be sad that they don't necessarily get to level those items, like those gems or whatever.
Yeah, I see.
But they're all coming. They're all going to be at the same baseline. Like the Xbox people are playing with Xbox people. So no one.
We're not doing the cross-platform.
Right.
playing,
No one is at a disadvantage.
Yeah.
I used to hear some of the support people used to tell me that often a problem that would be sent into support is people's weapons disappearing suddenly.
Yep.
Right.
And the answer is always, "Oh, you've hit the shortcut for your second weapon slot.
You've hit X.
Yeah.
Press X again. Oh, yep, there it is. Thank you.
And the funny thing is, that happened to me at one point, like before I knew, like before I realized there was weapon switching. And
Wow.
Well, it's.
And
So,
what did you do about it?
I see.
This game's buggy,
I
bro.
marched in. I was working here, and I marched into support and said, "What the fuck is this?"
Do you guys know about this bug, man?
Yeah, there's this huge bug where I press X and my weapons disappear.
I had a magic dagger. A magic dagger. It had mono regen on it. Where did it go? Yeah, there's some good ones. Support also gets complaints that their character is doing no damage, and then they look at the skill tree and they've taken ancestral power.
Oh, right.
Which disables damage from your character.
Ooh.
Gives you an extra totem.
Yeah.
It's always fun. Or characters who kill themselves with flasks. That's always a good one.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, there's some standard support queries. They probably have macros for those now. This is from Monkey Fetus. What was the most difficult or complex issue you came across in your work on the port? What was the most unexpected or unexpectedly complex?
fairly difficult thing we've had to deal with is the number of buttons you have on a controller.
Yeah.
That's been quite tricky. And there are still some things at the moment that we haven't found a good solution for yet, just because we've run out of buttons on that particular menu.
Right.
Yeah, so like in the inventory, all the A, B, X, and Y are taken up by item manipulation. The thumbstick's used for one thing, the right thumbstick's used for the right-hand panels, and and then in game, I'm pretty sure all the controls are taken up at the moment.
Is when you need to connect, right?
Yeah.
Sort it out, Xbox. Damn it.
and
More buttons on your controller.
Yeah. We want a keyboard.
You can't just plug a keyboard in.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're trying to avoid doing combinations of buttons where we can. I think the only combination at the moment is for the two skill sets, where you got to hold down right trigger for the second skill set.
And that actually feels fine because, most players can attest you usually only use one or two primary skills.
Yeah.
And then you need a movement skill. And then the rest is usually curses and auras and like support stuff. And so having those on a menu that's completely hidden is even useful at times.
Yeah. And console kind of gets an extra skill slot as well, because the thumbstick does all the movement, so you don't need the left mouse click for movement.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Most people will bind their left mouse click to movement.
Yeah.
And remove like the ability to use a skill or something, or they'll put a golem on there. So it is. I always say it, but like decoupling movement and skills feels really good. All right, let's ask one more question. We've got more than that, but we're already over time. So this is from. Let's go with this one from APXA, APXA. As far as we saw, most of the UI was just slightly tuned version of the PC UI. Do you consider making it a more do you consider making it more console oriented with LT / or left trigger or right trigger navigation tabs, inventory, characters, skills management, and so on? So like, do you think that using the triggers to navigate menus is worthwhile? Was I guess their question, which I think you already do, right?
Yeah, I think Yep. Yeah, it's already quite like that already.
Yep.
Yeah. They might have seen like an old trailer, maybe.
Great final question.
let's go with
another one.
Yep. We already covered that one to some degree. Oh man.
Thanks for your question, though. Thanks for sending in.
Yeah.
Thanks for everyone that sent in the questions.
Yes, we have a bunch. It's just a lot of them are focused on controls, which we've talked about at length. So,
I see. Yeah.
And understandably, because that's mainly what the console port is about, right?
Well, I have a question for you, which I think you might have answered on the last time you were here.
I do have one here.
How do you feel about hot or cold leftover pizza?
All right. I did answer that last time. I'm in the reheated pizza club.
Yep. Good. Correct.
Yeah.
What's your method?
Microwave.
Nope.
Oh.
Nope.
You're the first person I've heard that microwaves that.
What?
Everybody else has like in a frying pan or in an oven or like in a what?
Yeah, you fold it over and fry it.
Have you not heard about this?
I when I lived in the U.S. and I lived in a weird share house and I had like a one of each utensil to my name. I used to reheat.
You've come a long way since then.
I have two of each utensil now. I used to reheat pizza in a frying pan because that's all I had.
Right.
And it would get burnt on the bottom.
You flip them. You flip it.
But there's cheese on the other side.
It gets nice and crispy.
Oh, yeah.
No, you just get it stuck to the pan. Nah, man.
Get a little bit of butter in there.
Yep.
You're describing a pancake now.
Oh, yeah.
You make a pizza
couple
pancake.
eggs on there.
Yeah.
All right.
Sandwich press. Sandwich press is a good way.
I've got something for you, Chris.
Hang on. We're not done with pizza. Use an oven. Trust me on this. I used to microwave pizza. It gets soggy.
Yep.
It makes the crust chewy.
Yep.
It's unpleasant. If you just put it in the oven for like 6 minutes at like 200 degrees, you got yourself a nice slice. Also, keep it in Tupperware, because if you keep it in the fridge without, like if you just put the box in the fridge, which is what I used to do, it dries out overnight.
Yeah,
right.
That's not great. Or here's
Keep
my
going, man.
here's my pro tip, which I haven't tried yet, but I think is fantastic. You get 2 pieces of cold pizza, you put them together so the filling is on the inside, and you put that in a sandwich press.
Nice.
Wouldn't it be
Like
great?
a toasted sandwich. pizza.
Yeah.
Wouldn't it be great if you could like take ingredients and go to like, I don't know, Domino's or what, Sal's, and just be like, hey man, can you just throw this in the oven real quick? I'll pay you for it.
So
like
you're-
whatever.
Oh, so you
just-
want you want a place that's just like, we have all these pizza ovens.
Yep.
Bring your
You want a
unmade
pizza oven laundromat.
Yeah.
Sure,
Yes,
yeah,
yes, that's exactly it.
But I don't just want that.
You
I'd
put $2
love to
in
have like a I'd love to have like an access to a deep fryer as well without actually
wow.
having to commit to
I
full
see,
man.
yeah.
You
You
imagine the lawsuits, though.
What?
People injuring themselves
have
all
a
the
security
time.
camera, man. You sign an NDA.
NDA.
You may
Can't
you may
disclose
get
what you
3rd-degree
fried.
burns.
Yeah,
while-
Hey man, you didn't fry that here.
Yeah.
You've been talking about getting a deep fryer for years.
I know, but then apparently you reduce like you take 10 years off your life once you.
But I mean, what are you gonna do with those 10 years?
Oh, yeah.
You'd be
You
10
could be-
years happier if you had a deep fryer.
Yeah.
So,
All right, Chris.
Here's the actual last
Oh,
question.
yeah, you've got
Oh, no,
something?
you've got. Did you have one?
I've got one, but it's a general ask.
Yeah, no,
question.
go for it.
for it.
Go for it.
Actually, let's do that. Let's do that last. I'm
All right.
interrupting you.
This is
All right,
second to
this is-
last question.
I've got
second
another
last-
question,
this is
actually.
third to last question.
Third to last
This
question.
is the infinite podcast. It's never gonna. Resinaru asks, with I assume left analog stick being movement and flasks being on the D-pad in the trailer, are you guys doing some sort of magic so the players don't have to stop moving to use a flask? Because this is something we discussed very early on. D-pad flasks sounded like a great idea.
Yeah.
But we found problems, and movement while using a flask was one of them.
Yeah, because they're both on the left side of the
Right.
controller. So
You only have one thumb.
yeah. Initially we had only 4 flasks as well
Yeah.
compared to the 5 on PC. And one of the reasons we went back to 5 was because we decided that it was too hard using the D-pad, and so we added left shoulder. Is it called left
Yeah,
shoulder?
the bumper.
Yeah,
think it's
bumper,
the
yeah,
bumper.
and right bumper as flask 1 and 5.
Yeah.
So you can use those easily without having to stop
Right.
moving.
You bind your most important flasks to those.
Yeah,
And then your D-pad is for, you've got 3 on there as well.
yeah, yeah. And we have another feature which we've been playing around with where it's like a smart flask usage system.
Yeah.
Where if you, let's say you've got a health flask on your left bumper and a health flask on one of your other D-pads, if your left bumper flask runs out, then it'll find the next best flask to use on your D-pad and just use that.
Right.
With
So
the
if,
same
if you've got a life
input.
flask on your left bumper and your life flasks run out,
Yeah.
and you press that left bumper again thinking, I need a life flask,
Yeah.
it was going to try and use a life flask that's bound to your D-pad.
Yeah. Yeah.
So it makes a best guess as to what it is you're after based on what you've bound there, right?
Yeah, yeah. And also, using the D-pad while moving isn't too bad because you don't stop moving immediately when you let go of the stick. There's
Yes, there's a
tiny
little bit
delay.
of inertia.
So it's
sort of.
yeah. So you can move, let go, press the button, and keep moving, and it won't
Right.
stop the character completely.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Do the push joystick in buttons do anything?
Yeah.
What are they doing?
So the left joystick, clicking it is the same as pressing Alt.
Okay.
So it's like for showing all items, or it shows the item level in the pop-up.
Right. Or the helpful description text on stuff as well.
Yeah. And then the right clicking is for skill rewinding and the little skill thing.
Yeah. Okay.
Was that your last
Nope.
question?
Fourth to last question.
All right,
No, that one was just off the cuff.
All right.
Yeah.
Who wants to go first?
all right, Chris. How are you feeling about it? The Xbox version.
Good. Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah. I'm excited to see people playing it and get feedback from longtime players and
Yep.
yeah.
Have you
see
been
how
around,
everyone responds.
Have you been around anybody outside of the company trying it?
No, not really. Yeah, I mean, I think all I've seen from other people playing it is just from our press releases and that sort of
Right,
thing.
the interviews and stuff like that.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yeah. yeah, I'm really looking forward to seeing what people think, because I'm used to it now. And
Right. I think
easy
people are
for
going to
me,
be stoked.
So,
Yeah. I think people will be pretty happy.
Oh, okay. So my last question is completely pointless,
Cool.
and doesn't have anything to do with the game. So would you rather, what is it? Would you rather go into space, or would you rather see a dinosaur?
This is very important. This is actually the most important question.
That's a pretty good question.
Is seeing a dinosaur meaning going back in time, or just going to a Jurassic Park?
I think we left that open.
Okay.
Basically.
So there might be time travel.
Okay. What does
I feel like causality is a problem here.
Yeah. let's just say it's a Jurassic Park.
Yeah,
Would you rather have go to a Jurassic Park, or would you rather go to a space station?
So going to space doesn't mean I just get to.
Oh, you know what?
roam
No,
around space.
no. Okay. Let's go back to what I
is
originally
happening?
said.
What a travesty this question is.
Look, I originally didn't come up with this question. It's already full of holes to begin
Yeah.
with. Okay, so would you rather see a dinosaur, just see a dinosaur, and be like, "Holy shit, there's a dinosaur"?
Can
Or
you
would-
not touch this dinosaur?
yeah, you can do whatever you want with the dinosaur.
Let's say it's a
Anything you
triceratops,
want.
a fairly
whoa.
a herbivore, reasonably gentle, maybe, except it's got giant horns.
Maybe there's a T-Rex around as well.
Yeah,
Who knows?
it could be any
Who knows?
dinosaur.
When there's one
Okay.
dinosaur, there's more. They're like cockroaches.
You turn on the light and you see a dinosaur. There's 100 others.
Yeah. Or would you rather go into space? And that means anywhere in space.
Anywhere.
Anywhere in space.
Just one place in space, or I get to like roam around.
You get to go.
Does he get to touch space?
I
You
reckon
get to touch space.
you get to be
can do
on a
anything
rocket
to space.
to wherever you want to go.
All right. I think I would have to go see some nebula in space.
Boom.
Yeah.
Space
Although-
wins every
yeah.
time.
I think you
every
phrase
time.
the question in such a way where it sounds awesome because
Because
you're
touching
ba-
a dinosaur is boring.
no, because you're saying like you
'Cause,
can
like-
go anywhere instantly in space.
It's like
Like,
saying, hey, do you want to go to the crocodile exhibit
okay.
at the zoo? Or do you want to go where only like 20 people in the whole of human history have ever been?
So the exclusivity is what's
So here-
appealing to you.
Huh?
It's that only 20 people have been there. Is the
also,
allure.
it's zero gravity. It's the infinite vastness of the universe.
Don't you think that's a boring part?
Yeah, you're right. Seeing the
No,
infinite
here's
vastness of the universe, that sucks.
here's a change to the question.
All right.
You can go into space, but you can only go to one place, and you have to pick it like before you leave.
So just sort of like point it there and go.
Yeah, so you're like, that star, I want to go there.
Right.
And then you die.
Or if you can
Because-
be, or if you can, or if like, you know, there's like exoplanets that people know, you can be like, I want to go there.
Probably go check out Black Hole. That'd be
Yep.
it.
Still space.
Yeah.
Space wins.
Hey man.
I used to want to be a paleontologist when I was a child.
Mhm.
So back then, it definitely would have been dinosaur.
That's a foot
I've
doctor,
seen
right?
lots of dinosaurs.
Right.
A foot doctor is what
Yeah,
you said?
paleontologist is a foot
That's
doctor.
definitely what I meant. Yep.
Like here's one question. Let's say the mortality rate for going into space is 10%.
Okay.
You've got a 10% chance if you go to space, you're gonna die straight up.
And if you meet a T-Rex, what's your percentage of living?
You are guaranteed to live at the dinosaur park.
Okay.
Would you still choose space?
No, it's like Jurassic Park. There's a 10% chance.
Yeah. Everyone signs a waiver going in.
If it's like Jurassic Park, it's
You
more like
might
a
be eaten.
90% chance. Very few people made it off that island. Would you take that mortality rate? Would you gamble?
I think so.
Yeah.
I think so.
Yeah, I think I would as well.
Yeah.
I heard that when from people at the space station that they just something happens to them where they just sit in front of the window or whatever and they just
They look at
stare at the planet for,
Yeah.
for hours on end.
yeah.
Yeah, they say
And
they
it's like
never
a
get sick of
crazy
it,
feeling.
which is
Yeah.
something that humans seem to like always do. Is that everyone gets sick of everything, right? Like,
I mean,
you can have
Earth
the
is-
best job in the world, and you're like, I'm sick of this.
I mean, from where they are, Earth is still gigantic, and you can see all of these geological features, and you can see weather systems like appearing and disappearing. You can, you get to see all of the lights of the city, and man.
You see that there are no borders, man. The borders are just
We're
in
all
your
just
mind.
like the same. It's all just one planet, you know. Anyway,
It's all just Gaia. It's just Mother Gaia.
if you have questions, if you have an opinion
Wait,
about
what was
space
your last
or
question?
dinosaurs,
I thought you had a last question.
that was it. I asked my question.
Really?
Yeah, it was the Flasks one. It was from Red Tanaru.
Oh, I thought you had a question. You, Nick. NIC
Me,
Nick.
Yes. No, I didn't. That
Okay,
was. I mean,
never
I've asked tons of questions. If you've got a question you want to ask, we'll ask Chris on your behalf if it's specific to Chris. Maybe we'll get back to you. You can email us frontseatquestions@gmail.com. If you've got an opinion about space versus dinosaurs, tweet at us at frontseatcast or visit our Facebook page, facebook.com/frontseatcast. We also have a WordPress site, frontseatgamer.wordpress.com, and a YouTube channel. It's Front Seat Cast on YouTube. We're part of the Australian Gaming Podcast Network, AGPN on Twitter, and you can rate us on iTunes, and you should tell your friends about us because we like it when you do. And thank you for all the people who have. And thank you, Chris, for coming in.
No problem. Thanks for having me.
It was a joy to have you.
Thanks.
Severn, you're fine. Blake, good on you. Severn, you're fine.
Good,
We'll be
good
back
on
in a
you,
couple
Tim.
weeks.
Yeah, man.
All right. And thanks again for everyone that sent in questions.
Yep, that's true.
Yeah.
Sorry we didn't get to all of them. Okay, bye.
Bye.
Can I read out the week before? The Jade Dragon, hoisin marinated char-grilled chicken breast with sautéed onion, streaky bacon, mirin, pickled red cabbage, homemade sriracha aioli topped with crispy noodles. Crispy noodles. Crispy noodles. Have a look at that.